Hello, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In this video we are going to be doing a simple comparison between OpenAI and DeepSeek. In the last couple of days there's been a lot of hypes around the AI industry. Chinese startup DeepSeek just released a couple of models that are much cheaper than what OpenAI is offering and are basically more efficient and actually basically just performs better than what OpenAI actually offers. This has actually caused a lot of issues within the AI industry. We've seen Nvidia's market cap coming down and a lot of other stuffs like that, and it actually caused panic within the AI industry, especially in America, big boys in Silicon Valley. So what exactly is DeepSeek as a company, and how does it compare to OpenAI as a company, and then what is DeepSeek actually offering that's actually caused these issues recently? That's what we are going to be looking into in this particular video. We are going to do is a very short introduction about both companies. We are going to look into the products that they offer. We are going to compare their recent products, their most recent products against each other. We're going to look at the benchmarks. We're going to do a live test on both of their products side by side, and then we'll look at the pricing, and then at the end we'll just talk about our conclusion, how this is going to affect the entire AI industry. So if you made it this long into the video, please stick with me. Let's get started. DeepSeek is a Chinese artificial intelligence startup founded in December 2023 by Liang Wenfeng. Well, that's a very Chinese name to pronounce. My bad. DeepSeek released its first large language model in 2024 and mostly focused on chatbots and reasoning models. Basically, they just started in 2023, so you don't expect them to go into more advanced stuff like video generation and image generation. On the other hand, OpenAI was founded in 2015. Current CEO is Sam Altman. Sorry that is not included in the slides. I think it was started with big names by like Elon Musk too at that time. OpenAI at this point can basically be considered as a jack of all trades in the AI space. They are basically everywhere. Code generation, image generation, chatbots, video generation, and all that type of stuffs. And they've been around since 2015, so you expect more products from them. So talking about the products, like I said earlier, DeepSeek just started in 2023. They're just a startup, so they only have two products, which is the DeepSeek Chat and the DeepSeek Reasoner. The DeepSeek Reasoner is the more recent update, which is the R1, which is actually our focus in this video. We'll get to that in later slides. On the other hand, OpenAI is like, until this moment, the main giant in the AI industry. They are like a jack of all trades, like I mentioned earlier. They have the GPT-4, which is their latest version of the ChatGPT model. They also have a reasoning model, the OpenAI O1, OpenAI O1 Mini, which is just a smaller version. They also have the GPT-4 O Mini, which is a smaller version. They have DALL-E. The DALL-E is basically for image generation. They have the Sora, which is also a more recent product, which is basically used for video generation. They also have a lot of other stuff, so that includes text embedding models and other type of stuff, but we're not going to get into details of that. We're just giving a short list of the products that they actually provide. So let's do an overview over both companies and how they operate. On one side we have DeepSeek and on the other we have OpenAI. For DeepSeek, the chatbot is actually free. It's available open on the internet. Their mobile app is also totally free. I think the only thing you are paying for DeepSeek is going to be when you are using their API, which is currently free at the moment, I believe, until early February. On the other hand, OpenAI is free to some reasonable extent. I, for one, I don't get to use my ChatGPT up to 4 hours before it actually resets me to a lower tier model. So ChatGPT has a free tier model, which is very limited. On the other hand, DeepSeek is completely open source. So this means that you can actually run your own model locally. The entire DeepSeek, you can actually download it. It's pre-trained and run it on your own local infrastructure. It's totally open source, it's totally free, and actually in the history of AI, with all the progress so far, this is the first model that performs as good as that performs close to any of OpenAI's model and is still open source. On the other hand, OpenAI is extremely proprietary. Of course, they release a couple of papers on their research and their implementation, but For the most part, they are basically a closed AI company. I mean, I don't even know where they got the name OpenAI from. DeepSeek actually announced that they use fewer computation power to achieve close to what OpenAI actually achieved, which is actually a great jump, because OpenAI has always give us this view that you need extremely powerful computers or machines to run AI models, but DeepSeek have actually proven that that might not be the case for the most part. Also, performance-wise, like what I just said, DeepSeek model seems to perform faster according to the benchmark, and we'll get to see that in a couple of slides. So now we are going to compare DeepSeek's R1 and GPT-4o. Well, before we go into that, I want to point out here that this comparison is totally unfair. We should be comparing the DeepSeek R1 with the OpenAI O1 model, because they are both reasoning models. But the reason why I'm doing this comparison between both of these models is because DeepSeek provided benchmark data on their website between the R1 and a lot of other models, but they didn't include the OpenAI O1. I believe that's because the OpenAI O1 is a more recent product and they've not been able to get a lot of data from it to do an actual benchmark. I don't know what I'm saying right now. So the comparison would be between the DeepSeek R1 and the OpenAI GPT-4o. So ride with me, guys. So for the benchmark, guys, this is actually from DeepSeek's official website. You can see the metrics right here. We are going to be doing a comparison between the DeepSeek V3, which is a superset of the R1. We are going to do a comparison between that and GPT-4o. Part of OpenAI not being totally OpenAI is the fact that we don't even have the architecture, the activated parameters, or the total amount of parameters for GPT-4o. There's just been speculations online on how many parameters are there, but there's no, OpenAI did not officially release an actual number. So we are going to look over all of the benchmarks. You can ignore the other numbers, they are for other models, but if you also want, you can follow along. We are going to focus on the first column and the last column. As you can see, the DeepSeek V3 actually has 671 billion parameters. But let's just move into English tags. You can see on most of the benchmarks actually looks like DeepSeek actually beats GPT-4o. We're just going to do an average kind of thing. As you can see, 88.5 versus 87.2. There's 89.1. There's 75.9. There's 72.6. There's 91.6. There's 83.7. There's 86.1. There's it looks like there's only about just maybe like two different problems, which is the simple QA and the frames, where the GPT-4o actually outperformed the DeepSeek. So that's like 7/9 for DeepSeek and 2/9 for GPT-4o on English tags. Now we're going to look at coding tags, which is where I think DeepSeek is actually truly going to outshine the 4o model, because DeepSeek is more of a reasoning model. So I don't think there should be anywhere where GPT-4o actually outperforms DeepSeek R1 on this one. We're going to start looking at it. The first one still has the lead, here, and has the lead here. It just went through. For reasoning task, DeepSeek actually just wins it. They have this chain of thoughts algorithm that just does better than what OpenAI has so far. So on coding task, for all of the benchmarks provided here, DeepSeek has it. Then we are going to move to mathematics task. They also have it. In fact, they actually outperformed every other model, not only the GPT-4o on mathematical problems. And then on Chinese, of course, I'm even quite surprised that there's a model that actually beat the DeepSeek R1 in one of the particular benchmarks, which is the Coin 2.5. I think this is the AI released by Alibaba Yeah, I think so. So it's quite understandable. I mean, it's a Chinese thing. So basically, that's it. As you can see here, this proves that the DeepSeek R1 actually outperforms the 4.0 model very, very much. So down to the tests, as you can see, I have the DeepSeek chat on one end and I have the ChatGPT on the other side. We are going to pass the same task to both of these models and see how they actually attempt to solve the problem. First, I'm just going to pass in a very simple mathematical problem. So we're going to start with solve x squared minus 5 is equal to 0. I'm going to pass the same question to the to ChatGPT. Well, they both basically provided the correct answer. There's nothing much to say here, but if you should take notes, you would observe that the DeepSeek model actually attempts to break down each of the steps for solving the question, which is not completely the same. I cannot say completely the same for the GPT-4o model, which I'm using the free version here. So that's for a mathematical problem. But as you can see, the answer is actually correct for both models. Let's just give it a simple coding task. Implement a linear search. So as you can see, they both provide correct answers actually. A linear search basically just loops through an array and check if the element you are looking for is the current element. If yes, it just returns the index. If no, it just if at the end of the element we don't actually find it, we just return -1, which is basically what both codes here are actually doing. But I want to actually emphasize again that DeepSeek actually does a more detailed explanation than the ChatGPT model. So basically that's it for the testing. I'm just gonna be fair about this. As you can see, they both basically perform almost the same thing, but one is much more cheaper than the other, and it costs less computational resources to build one than the other, which is DeepSeek. So like I said earlier in the video, DeepSeek actually hits a landmark by building something very close, very, very close that can actually compete, that is even better than what OpenAI has built using less computational resources. For the DeepSeek chart, which does not include the reasoner, we have for each million token that is a catch hit that is actually available on the catch, it costs $0.014 for each million token. That's not the same case for OpenAI. For each million token, for each million input token actually, for the catch token it's 1.25 per million catch token. And then for the catch miss, for DeepSeek, for catch miss tokens, 1 million catch miss tokens, it's actually $0.14. While for GPT-4o, for each million catch missed input tokens, it costs $2.50. This is like for DeepSeek, it costs a fraction. DeepSeek actually costs a fraction of what GPT models actually cost. As you can see, I'm actually doing a comparison between the DeepSeek chat and GPT-4o because they are both basically completion models, chat models actually. So that's that for their input pricings. Well, for the output pricing, for each million token output on the DeepSeek chat, it actually costs 0.28. And lest I forget, I need to remind you guys that you are only paying DeepSeek when you are using their API. There's no limit on the mobile app and the web application, and it costs actually $0.28 for each million output token on their API for the DeepSeek chat. And then for the OpenAI GPT-4o, for each million output token, it costs about $10 for each million output token. So that's basically the comparison. I intentionally did not compare the DeepSeek reasoner model to the GPT-4o model because that would be the most extreme limit of being unfair. The fair comparison here on the pricing will be the DeepSeek reasoner model and the OpenAI O1 model, which are both reasoning models. So I'm going to look at that right now. So for each million input tokens that are not cached, for the DeepSeek reasoner, it costs $0.55 for each million cache missed input tokens. Then for the same amount of tokens, for the same of cache missed input tokens for the OpenAI O1 model, it actually costs $15. The gap is actually outrageous. DeepSeek is charging like a fraction of what OpenAI is charging for exactly the same thing. That's actually crazy. For the cached input tokens, for 1 million cached input tokens, DeepSeek Reasoner is charging $0.14, and OpenAI for the same model, OpenAI O1 model, they are charging $7.5. This is also a fraction. It does not even compare. And then for 1 million output tokens, DeepSeek Reasoner model is charging $2.19, and OpenAI O1 is also charging $60. So basically that concludes it for the pricing part of this video. It's fair to say that DeepSeek is providing better service and at a fraction of what OpenAI is charging. So basically that's it for the pricing, guys. So in conclusion to this video, yes, I'm going to say the hypes around DeepSeek and it being the doom of OpenAI is basically true to some reasonable extent, but not totally true. Of course, OpenAI has been around since 2015. They have been like the giants in the AI industry. They've been dominating image generation, code generation, problem solving, and a lot of other stuff like that. So it's not like DeepSeek is just gonna come out of nowhere and just take over the entire market. No. But DeepSeek, of course, is going to have a very serious impact on OpenAI. We've seen stuff like this in Nvidia's market cap in recent days. It has actually dropped dramatically because Nvidia is actually the major manufacturers of GPUs, which are actually used to train AI models. Also, another very good take from this is the fact that we now know that AI is not for the elites. AI does not necessarily require some very gigantic amount of hardware to actually run. And also DeepSeek R1 being an open source model has actually made it easier for a lot of individuals and maybe companies to actually run their own AIs locally for basically free. I mean, aside from the fact that they're going to be paying for to run their own infrastructure or pay for the cloud, the model is basically theirs for free. It's totally open source. I mean, just a free AI for everyone. So this is actually groundbreaking work from DeepSeek, and it's a very big push in the AI industry. That's it, guys. Please like and subscribe. If you have anything to say, please drop it in the comment section, and also share this video with your friends. Also, emphasis on subscribe. If you want more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button, and you can also hit the bell button to get a notification whenever I drop a new video. Thank you, guys. Have a nice one.